Hey everybody, it's Bill, Bill's Box of Sound. Well, if I'm going to make this a Bill's Box of Sound, I will make this episode number 76. If you want to find the website for Bill's Box of Sound, it's podcast.boxofsound.com. And if you want to email me, it's bill@boxofsound.com, or you can put comments on the YouTube channel, because not only is this an audio podcast, it's a video podcast, and if you're watching on YouTube, just put the comments down there. So, this video is a reply to kind of a thread that Dereck started, and I haven't seen anybody else pick up on this. Dereck said, show music that you've been involved in. If you create music, and I do, please show the things that you've been involved in. Okay, well, I can't say that I've done as much stuff as Dereck has done, and Dereck has done a very admirable body of work, which is still continuing to this day. Oh my gosh. Is my wife texting me again? Yep. I will shut that off, and I will text her back in a little bit. Anyway, my earliest stuff is on vinyl. Because, hey, I was in high school, actually junior high school, 72 to 73. The advanced band is what I was part of. And I was a percussionist. And we do the Rakotsi March, and I believe I was on timpani for that. And I think there was some other stuff that I was on snare drum for. So this is when I was in junior high. A lot of this stuff is water damaged near the bottom. The next record was when I was in high school. I believe this was my junior year. No, this was still junior high. 1974, when I was in the advanced band again. And let's see, got stuff like the Sinfonia in B flat. Oh yeah, we did Promenade and Great Gate of Kiev from Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition. And I'm trying to think. Was I can't remember whether I was playing timpani or snare drum on that. I played all sorts of stuff in the percussion section: timpani, mallets, snare drum, bass drum, suspended cymbals, crash cymbals, wood blocks, you name it. But then, 1976, 1977, orchestra. There's a story that goes along with this. The company that recorded the records for North Olmsted High School was a Century Advent Recording, and they got sued over the name Advent by a company that makes speakers. So they changed the name of their company to Telarc. And for those of you who have been collecting music for a while, you know that Telarc is a company that was based in Cleveland, Ohio, that pioneered digital recording for classical music. Anyway, they had really good engineer there named Jack Renner, and he recorded all of this stuff. One of the things on here is "A Mighty Fortress is Our God," which I used to call "A Fighting Mattress is Our God," because I make fun of everything. Anyway, there's a timpani solo in it. And I was already studying recording when I was in high school back in 1976. And when a timpani solo came when we were recording, I kind of laid back on it and played it not as loud as I do in rehearsal. Guy came back on the talkback and said, "What's the timpani player doing? He's supposed to be playing louder." And I said, "I don't want to overload the recording." He says, "No, just give me all you got. Play that thing." So I said, "Okay, I will." And I played that thing with gusto. And when the recording came out, overmodulated grooves. It sounds like shit. They didn't compress it enough in the vinyl cutting stage, although the original recording was not distorted, because the conductor, Casey Creekbaum, who has since retired, and I don't know if he's still with us or not, he conducted North Olmsted High School bands from 1952 to 1979. And one of the recordings on the Best Of record that they released when he retired was "A Mighty Fortress" with me on timpani, and they finally compressed it properly when they put it on here. So that's my claim to fame during my high school years. Now, I got into all sorts of other bands, and I'm primarily a drummer, but I learned other instruments as well. I learned guitar, I learned keyboards and other stuff. And around 1990, a good friend of mine, Todd Letterman, and I put together a little band called Spud, and we did one song a week, whether we liked it or not. And went up to my friend Evan Nave's radio show at Baldwin Wallace College and played the new song while he was doing his avant-garde radio show. And the main fruit out of that was a little cassette. For you cassette community people, this is the Spud cassette called Bleh! And we went and had like 200 copies of this made. We've even got custom printed labels on here. This is very rare. I do still have like about 10 or 15 copies of this if anybody's interested in it. And I wanted to put out a CD of it eventually. And I did make a prototype CD of that album with a whole bunch of extra cuts. Ended up being an hour and 5 minutes, and you never know. I'd love to see this on vinyl someday, although this is done way back in the early 90s. And we recorded a lot of stuff. I even put together a second compilation of Spudlock just on one CD. Actually, I made 2 copies of this, one for myself, one for Todd. And this was called Some Buns in the Oven, the second Spudlock album. And had a graphic artist at the TV station I was working at to do the cover. And it says, Spudlock, Some Buns in the Oven with special guests, Boring Industry and Nagley. So it has all sorts of old recordings on it. And then, around 1998, I got involved with a horror movie host called The Ghoul. He would present scary movies on late night television and do funny skits and insert noises in the movies to make them funnier. And that was The Ghoul, right there. That's the guy, The Ghoul, who I'm still friends with to this day. But the reason that he is The Ghoul is because of this guy, Ghoulardi, who was a horror host on WJW Channel 8 back in the early 60s. And when Ernie Anderson left the character of the Ghoul to become a big-time announcer in Hollywood, Ron, the guy who is the Ghoul, said, you should keep on doing the Ghoulardi character. And he says, nah, I don't want to do that. He says, well, can I continue the character? He says, well, yeah, you go ahead and continue the character, only don't call it Ghoulardi, just call it the Ghoul. So with Ghoulardi's blessing, Ron carried on the tradition of the Ghoulardi and the Ghoul. And this is a compilation of recordings put together by me. I produced this record and engineered it. It's old recordings of Ghoulardi from TV and also recordings of the Ghoul on radio and from TV and such. It's called Voyage to the Bottom of the Barrel. This came out in 1997. Just before I started working on his new TV show, which went on WBNX Channel 55 in Cleveland from 1998 to 2002. I was also involved in a band around that time called the Squeaky Wheels. We played a lot of classic rock music, and we did our own compositions as well. And this is an album that we recorded, and it's mastered horribly, because the same guy who recorded the album, mastered the album, all he did is run it through a thing called a finalizer and used a preset and said, yeah, this sounds good. And it doesn't sound that good, but still, we put out this album in 1997 called Get the Grease by the Squeaky Wheels. And I wrote 3 of the songs on this album. And we also did some remixes, which we tried to get on radio, of a song called Dummy Seat. And remixed a few other songs on here. And that's a one-off piece that we did to try and get ourselves some more recognition. I left the band in the year 2000, but continued to be friends with them, and they put out another album in 2004 called What Goes Around Comes Around. And I do background vocals on, I think, 3 songs. Also, getting back to the Ghoul, in the year 2000, we put together another album of Ghoul stuff, and since it was the second album of the Voyage to the Bottom of the Barrel, I kind of did a parody of the old Elvis cover. 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. Well, 50 million Ghoul fans can't be right. And that's kind of a parody of the old Elvis Golden Records Volume 2 cover. And it's got a whole bunch of different stuff on there. It's mostly a comedy album. Recorded between, I'd say, 1972 and 2001. So that's that. And, you know, I've always been dabbling around, making up songs, playing songs, recording songs on my own. I did a one-off recording of stuff that I've done, like in apartments and things like that, just for my own stuff. Never made it commercially available. And then a guy that I knew from the Ghoul Show, Eddie Willie, said, listen, there's this band that me and my friend Ant are putting together. It's going to be kind of like a takeoff of religious preachers and stuff, and the campy stuff that they do. And the band is going to be called Uncle Scratch's Gospel Revival. And all the songs will be about religion and how the devil sucks and stuff like this. Only we're going to use plenty of objectionable language and do things like that. By the way, my voice sounds horrible. I've got a bad cold, and I'm just trying to get through this. So I wanted to do this because when Dereck threw that down the challenge, I thought, this is great. I'd love to do a video like this. So I'm doing this. And thank you, Dereck, again for throwing down the gauntlet and asking me to do this. So, what we did is we got together. I saw them perform live, and I loved them. And I said, I got to record you guys. So, Eddie and Ant put together an album, Uncle Scratch's Gospel Revival, Kicking the Devil in the Balls. Now, there is only 7 songs on this. And on the CD that they released, which was only put out through CD burners, they did a cover of Prince's Purple Rain. And I recorded this direct to 2-track on a mini disc machine. I wanted to do this on an analog deck, but the analog deck broke down while we were recording. So I ended up recording the whole thing digitally. And this was only made on CDRs and distributed by the band. The band continued, and while that was going on, I put together a CD of my own called Cheese Sandwich. Now, this is a copy that I've made about 6 or 7 copies of, and only distributed it to friends. And then I decided I want to make this available, so I went and had 1,000 copies pressed up. And these are still available. If you want any of these, or also if you want the Ghoul CD, ask for that as well. I've detailed in another video that if you just PayPal me $3 of postage, I'll send you a cheese sandwich. And I usually send out 3 copies whenever I do, so you'll get 3 times the cheese. Getting back to Uncle Scratch's Gospel Revival. In 2006, the first album was done in 2003, and we recorded a second album right here in this basement on my Pro Tools system at that time, and that album was called North of Hell. And I took their campy act and really made an artwork of it. I am so proud of this record and the way that these guys played. And they actually had this released on a label called Rock and Roll Purgatory Records, which is no longer in business. And there's the inside of the North of Hell CD. And a few years ago, Eddie, the drummer and also backup singer for Uncle Scratch, he got lung cancer. And he fought that motherfucker for a couple years. Sadly, earlier this year, Eddie passed away from the cancer. And what I'm trying to do right now, and I'm working with the other member of the band and Eddie's widow, I want to take the 2 Uncle Scratch albums and make a 2-record set out of them. This would be an EP, recorded at 45 RPM. This would be an LP, recorded at 33. The details have not all been worked out because I want to do this in conjunction with these people, and I want to make sure that it's all done with the utmost respect to Eddie. I'm going to finance the whole thing, and I don't want to make a penny off of it. If some profit does come back to it after I make my money back, I'd like the profit to go to Eddie's widow and son, who are great people in their own right. But stay tuned for more information about the Uncle Scratch vinyl project. That's going to be the next thing that I want to do. Aside from that, I would love to record and produce more music, but recently I've had some hand injury problems, and the only way that I can play my drums is if I have this thing on one of my sticks. I've got this little padding on the stick, so on my right hand I can grip it, because if I grip this stick completely the way I usually do, my trigger finger gives out. I'm undergoing some physical therapy on this right now, and hopefully soon I'll be able to drum with the best of them. So that is the box of sound for this episode. I'm going to call this one number 76. Thank you, vinyl community. Thank you, Dereck, for the idea. And I promise I'm going to be sending you some VCLT soon. And, oh, I did get the Indreama record. I started listening to it last night. This is awesome. The new Indreama album. And for those of you looking for it on the web, INDREAMA. If you don't already know about it, from watching it on YouTube and being in the vinyl community. So, that's all for me right now. Thanks for watching. Had a great time. Hope you did too. See you next time.